All right, we're going live with another episode. This is going to be a quick change of pace, so I'm excited. But first, I want to take a minute. I want to thank Volkortsen Firearms. Scotty Volkortsen was on the show earlier this week. I want to take a minute to thank them. They're sponsoring the show. So thank you to Volkortsen Firearms. Head over and check them out, and head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com. And please remember to leave a review and everything else on iTunes and everywhere podcasts are heard. I had Clint Smith on from Thunder Ranch, but I couldn't do an episode without having the one and only Heidi Smith from Thunder Ranch. What's going on, Mama?
Hey, thank you for having me, boss. I appreciate it. What a great opportunity.
You have one of the most untold stories out there. You got to get it out there. So tell me how this all came to be and how you corralled this lunatic. How'd you get him?
My wonderful lunatic. I met my lunatic for the first time when I was 14 years old. My uncle, who goes way back into the early gun sight days, had met Clint while he was the ops guy under Jeff. And after he left on site, my uncle sponsored him to come up in the Seattle area and do a class. And my grandmother and I were really tight, and she said, "Hey, your uncle's taking some gun class. Let's go bring him some lunch." So we did. So I remember walking up, hugging my uncle and my aunt, and then this guy, man, I'll never forget it. Green shirt, Levi's, high-tech boots. I didn't remember his face over the years, but I remembered his voice. And he stuck out his hand and he said, "Young lady, would you like to shoot a machine gun?" Those are the very first words Mr. Smith ever uttered to me. And I said, "Yes, sir." So he had an Uzi that day, so he showed me how to shoot an Uzi. And our families had always been friends, again, through my uncle. And years later, my mom, who is my hero, who's actually the one that got me into shooting, she was one of the big drug counselors for some of the private Catholic schools in the Seattle area. And in the 80s, she was also one of the very first interventionists before it was on TV and all that stuff. So she got scared because the kids were bringing guns. The interventionists were getting crazy because of the cocaine crazies. And she was going to quit. My uncle said, "No, why don't you take a gun class?" So he sent her to a class with Clint in 88. The following year, 3 weeks before my starter marriage started, before I got married, she said, "I'm going to take you to Sun Valley and put you through a handgun school." And so in July of 89 was my first class. What happened after that is my mom and I saw a real need in the industry to get women into shooting. Because I think Paxton Quigley, some of you oldies will remember Paxton, Crazy Paxton Quigley, but there weren't really programs for women. And so we just saw a need to get women in the door and had a Personal Safety Institute for 8 years. And as Clint was teaching on the road, and as they opened Thunder Ranch, my mom was hired first in Texas, so she's been on staff longer than me. And then I got hired in 95. And as life goes, I was alone. Clint was widowed. And as it worked out, we ended up getting married. And 22 years later, married my spirit animal, as I call him. And so that's where it started. So, but my mom, in the big picture, for most people, they're, someone in their uncles, grandfathers, dads get them into shooting. But my mom was really instrumental in getting me through the door. So, but that's how it started with him.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it? How life takes you down these paths and you end up where you are. It's, it's it's always a wild ride, right? You're always kind of like just a passenger in life. You know what I mean? In so many ways.
It really is. There's always God has a great, amazing plan. And, Clint and I are firm believers in it that, who would have thought in Issaquah, Washington, the first time I met him on a range, that how many years later we'd be together doing what we both love to do. And I think that's the key to our marriage, is that we both have a love for teaching and for passing on knowledge and making people, especially in this time frame right now. I'm grateful for emails and phone calls for people who just feel at peace at home because of what we've taught them and showed them, along with many other people around the country that are experiencing this, having students tell them the same thing. They're grateful for the peace of mind and that they can take care of themselves during kind of a really scary time right now. So
yeah, the women's market has evolved so much in shooting. It's insane. I was actually talking about this with Donnie a second ago. It's one of the most undernourished areas in so many ways, but it's getting nourished now. And I attribute a lot of that to a generation of shooters that maybe felt like shooting was guy time, and that's something, you know, Donnie brought up. And you guys and even yourself and some of the pioneers, you gals, are beating those walls back. You know, what have you seen along the way that has been instrumental in moving the ball forward for the ladies?
Well, one thing I think the women, as far as in the industry, see that the ownership of firearms is in the hands of women, not men. Women, I think, have so much more power when it comes to voting, and because we tend to look at those issues. So really the future of firearms is in the ladies' hands. And my mom and I felt early on that was something that we needed to get a hold of and get women, and the word empowered has been overused, but I think get women just to be smart and take the mystery out of shooting. And it's a mechanical device. When given the appropriate teaching, it can be used to save your life and your family, and getting women over that hump. As far as where I see this amazing, wonderful push in the industry is in a couple things. Is one, you know, I've been shooting Glocks for 27 years, but I think the idea that gun manufacturers are getting smart about people we need adjustable grips. Geez, I mean, I sent my Glocks in the beginning down to Robar and had Robbie do grip reductions on them because I have very, very short thumbs. They're like just under an inch long. So, you know, being able for women to be able to have a gun that they can hold correctly and index so that they're grabbing it the same way every time. When it's too big for their hands, there's where some issues come with as far as marksmanship and consistency. So this push in the industry to address the grip sizes, to address different types of holsters. I'm real big into ankle guns. I think it's great, especially for a 100-pound woman. She's not going to walk around with her Glock 19 on her hip the whole time. The emphasis in ambidextrous guns as well, putting those two things in for women to make them more comfortable with the guns, to be able to want to go out and practice and get better. But when the gun fits, I've told women for years, a gun is like a bra purchase. It has to fit right. And it's a very personal decision, and it has to fit you correctly, because if it doesn't, you're not going to wear it, you're not going to shoot it, and you're not going to get any better at it. So I think the industry is really working on making guns that fit grips, not necessarily making smaller calibers, because you and I both know the smaller the gun, physics come into place. Your hand's going to take more of the brunt, the smaller and the lighter the gun. And this idea that I'm going to throw you a little hammerless whatever that, you know, is teeny, you can fit in your purse, which is a mistake, by the way, and have you shoot, you know, magnum loads through it, you're going to break your hand and you're not going to want to practice. So, and the other thing is, and I'm being outright honest, is the emphasis in movies and in Hollywood. The one thing I will say they have done is made more female heroes. Everything from, I remember seeing Sigourney Weaver in Aliens and thinking that's
my favorite.
My favorite, you know, get away from her, you bitch. Yeah. One of my favorite lines of all time. And so this emphasis, seeing more women that are empowered in Hollywood, which is so funny because they, you know, are elitists and a lot of them want to take our stuff as far as guns, but Hollywood has done great things to get women the idea that they can be powerful and they can do things for the good of the order. So those two things, I think, really, John, have been instrumental in getting more women into the fold.
Yeah, it's, you know, the women's market is something, you know, that I think is really critical. And I think one of the larger failures of the firearms business, I talked about this with Clint, and I spent some time talking to Donnie about it, and we've brought this up. We eat our own. So we're our own worst enemy, and we're kind of digging out of that. I brought it up to Donnie, and I'll bring it up to you. I read something from a very large manufacturer, Knights Armament, that one of their employees put out there, and it was very disheartening. He was talking about how these new gun owners coming in, they're not really a part of the tribe. They're not real gun owners. They're not real participants in the gun industry. And, you know, until like he vets them, or he, you know, they're like vetted by some greater glory of God, and they're not real participants until, you know, we say, and I lost my shit. And I was like, you know, to me that's very disheartening coming from somebody employed in the firearms business. And I was very taken aback, and just so I'm not taking it out of context, Heidi, I want to read it to you, because then people accuse me, or someone will say you took it out of context, or
let me hear it.
I'll read it to you, and I want your interpretation.
Yeah.
Still seeing posts about welcoming new gun owners from the panic buy. Just because you ran out and bought a gun does not make you a part of the tribe. That does not make them allies or reformed. They are people that didn't care either way, or didn't own a gun before, bought a gun to protect themselves from all evil gun owners, aka if you can't beat them, join them. Nothing against them, but I got to read the second part. But they are not the newfound piece of the puzzle to end the war on our rights. Now, I understand what he's trying to say to a point, but it's not the right messaging, and it's kind of one of those things that shouldn't be coming from somebody inside our business, because I read some of the comments underneath, and it's all in how people interpret it, right? I could say the sky's black and it could be blue. It's an interpretation, and people underneath are like, yeah, man, they're no friends of ours. And that's the wrong attitude. What are your thoughts?
If anything, I think it's interesting. I don't know if sometimes it's the cool kid factor, where people think, I'll put it this way. I could look at my mom in 1988 as a panic buyer. And I could look at some of the women over the last 25 years that I've been teaching as panic buyers. And if I had treated them that way, where would they be now? Meaning, your perception of panic, is it the virus? But people have been panic buying for decades within their own, whatever the panic is perceived in their head, and they've become, a lot of people have been put in a position where I need to buy something to be able to protect myself. And we've all been there. So the thing is you're putting people in a group that we should be rejoicing. We should be, yes, there's probably percentage. If you have 10 women, if we get lucky that 3 or 4 of them are going to really stick to it and take classes and move on with training and that part of it, there's always a percentage of people that are going to get a gun and then never touch it. But that's the history of the gun industry.
Right.
So this perception of, now you're making them feel we should be embracing them. And like you said, coming within the industry, it's pretty sad. We should be taking advantage of this and helping them. And, something in a statement, we are grateful that people are out buying, and you're thinking of the bigger picture and how can we help you, and get training and seek people out. That's the kind of message we should be pushing. So I'm in agreement with you. I think it's actually really sad. And I'm grateful for my mom panicking and what she decided to do, because without her, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be married to Clint. So whatever you perceive of your panic buying, I say it's like smart buying. And, we just hope that out of a percentage of the people that are buying during this time, that they take it to the next step. And that's how we get really confident shooters, and people that'll even take it to the next step, where they'll vote to protect their gun rights.
And it's super disheartening coming from inside of the industry, because my thing is this: I almost want to say tonight, so you're going to return the money of any additional gun sales, or should the guy who went and bought a holster because he's new to it, should the holster company not accept his money? What are you saying? What does that attempt to accomplish from within? And we've seen some of that on the women's side, which is why I bring it up. We've seen some of that, like, attempt to push out women before we really even get them in. And I hate to see that. I like to see the welcoming and the open arms, come on in. And you know what? Here's the thing people have to realize, and I think, Heidi, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I think people have to realize, for everybody, shooting is sometimes a passive thing. It's like a passive thing for me is like cars. I'm not a huge car guy. I own a Raptor. I own a good car. I own a Ford. Yeah. I like it, but I'm not a gearhead. That's the term I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I don't spend 1,000 hours under the hood. I got guys that work on it for me. I enjoy them, but I'm not like a big car guy. It's a passing thing for me. Some people shooting, they might go take a class. They may go take two. They may be indoctrinated into the sport. They might be a proud gun owner, but it's not an everyday thing for them. And that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. But
it's fine.
I just hate in the business, and I want to get your thoughts on it, where we chastise people before they even get out of the gate.
Yeah.
Before they even start.
Well, Clint and I we on an average do about 500 people a year. So, and I can say, Clint asks them right when we get them into lecture, how many of you have shot 500 rounds in the last year? There's not many hands because people have lives. They have children. They have jobs. They don't have time to go to the gun range. I mean, let's just be realistic and practical. I've got people that'll come for a handgun 1, they'll come for a handgun 2 a year later, and they haven't touched the gun. So they're using us for practice, not necessarily learning new things. So there's the idea that, yes, you're going to have people that they get the gun, they get it for what they perceive the right reasons. And what we have to do is just keep encouraging them, because out of 10, you may get 2 that are going to take it to the next level. And out of them, if they can spread whatever wealth and knowledge they have and encourage other people to come into the fold. But if you discourage them from out of the gate, what you're actually doing is keeping them from spreading any more of this positive influence about getting a gun and getting training. It's what I call a force multiplier. It's if you give them real good positive intro into what they're considering our world or into this industry, into shooting, all that positive reinforcement, you're more than likely to get them to go and share that. And that's what we want. Clint and I are teaching people so that that family will teach their kids, that those kids will teach their kids. And we're looking at generational, hoping to spread this knowledge and this type of mindset for generations to come. So what you're doing by not welcoming is you're affecting the next generation, literally. And I think people don't grasp that. So if anything, I'm so in agreement with you that we have to just simply welcome them with open arms. And like you were talking to Clint the other day, it's how can we as a business and other businesses give people help to guide them? A lot of people can't make it to Oregon, but can you get to Florida? There's tons of people that are teaching there. I mean, how can we be positive and encourage each other rather than, hey, I'm just going to stick on this side of the fence and I don't want anybody into our club? I think that's just the wrong mindset right now. So
it's divisive.
It is divisive. And, I've seen a lot of chatter that, hey, everything from food prep to, me, Clint and I, you can imagine what we have. We're ready here. I'll just put it that way. So, but I've seen a lot of people online going, well, it's too late for you. You should have thought about this, And, Clint made a comment. He went in to get a gun the other day and there's like 1,000 people ahead of him. And, I get it in that respect, but everybody's buying, everybody's trying to get a gun. But as far as overall prep to stay at home and take care of yourself for a couple of weeks, there's a lot of people saying, hey, you snooze, you lose. When, my idea is how can we individually help other people? I'm not saying I'm handing all your food over, but, I've got a thing here that if the safe ways out of eggs or certain things, I'll text some of my friends so they don't make a trip in and expose themselves. How can you as a community, as in a neighborhood, help neighbors and help people to survive this? Because this is a pretty big reality check for people. And not so just, about the guns and about personal protection, but geez, having a meal, we're only 7 meals away from Katrina. Everybody needs to keep that in mind. You can be, Mr. Christian, this or that, but when your kids are hungry, I tell you what, that's going to change the channel for a lot of people. And this country does not, in the big picture, know what hunger or what that is. I mean, we're a pretty blessed country. I'm not saying that there aren't starving kids in this country, but there's going to be this idea that if you don't help your neighbors right now, when it gets really bad, they're going to be coming to you and you're going to be having to make some hard choices, if that makes sense. So I think in all aspects of personal protection of taking care of yourself and your family, we all need to be able to help others, whether it's just, hey, you know, you can go to this store, this has it right now, this is what you should do to prep to stay ahead, because this is not the last time this is going to happen. We're going to have a virus like this again. So how can we be better prepared for it? And yeah, we just need to be able to help in the big picture. So I hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And it's just you know what I think it is? I think, by and large, in coming back to the women's market, I think, you know, it's systemic. I think there's a pettiness that goes on.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
This is mine, you know, and if someone else comes in, they're going to try and take it from me, or, it's just sad. You know, you just hate to see it from within. And my hope is that, you know, this evolves. And the reason I'm bringing it to light, and the reason I love podcasting is because I just want to have the conversation. Like, I'll welcome the people on air and say, what do you mean by that? Please tell me what is your goal by putting something like that out there, that you need to let people know that you're this big bad person, you're this. What are you? You know, what are you trying to accomplish? It's just very perplexing to me, and we've seen it for a long time in the industry, and I worry just where people expect it to go sometimes. And it's like, well, what do you want? What is your like when you say, for example, it's in the women's market, right? And when you don't encourage and welcome another woman into the space and help her, and you know, because the biggest thing in anything, whether it's lifting weights, whether it's shooting, whether it's even if it's as simple as going and buying a dress. I mean, I hate to pull the pretty woman card, but you know, you make somebody feel badly for what they're doing, then they're not going to want to do it.
Exactly. There needs to be the opposite. Hold on one second. Hey, Clint, you get that door. We need to be as positive as possible. And, you know, but we're all pretty smart. We can tell the difference between someone who's going to be not a good person. I mean, we will all know the people. You can think of all the people in your community right now that you know you don't want to help because they will take advantage of you later. But I think if we don't get rid of this attitude that we're not going to help your community, help new lady shooters, whatever it is, it's all about whether it's extra food, whether it's a couple extra medical masks, whether it's a gun, whether it's ammunition. We have to take these new people that are now coming into this, I'm not going to say a prepper mentality, but a prepared mentality. And we need to do all we can to encourage them and to help them, because you never know. You know, I look at it this way. You may be the one on the receiving end that may need help someday. And sometimes you have to give a little to get back, if that makes sense. And I think we as a shooting community, we have so many resources. We can, if we want this voting base to grow, if we truly wish, that old saying, I want world peace. Well, there's never going to be world peace, but if we want more people to be more like-minded, like us, and be better prepared, we have to welcome them. We have to help. There's, we don't have. Clint and I made the decision about a month and a half ago, because I've been following the virus since Christmas, when it kind of first came on my radar. And about a month ago, we started giving our students in April the option, because we could see when the peak was coming. And as of today, we've rescheduled and moved everybody to later in the year. And it's the smart choice, but it's a smart choice also for my small community. I have a very small hospital we're running out of supplies. I donated and gave some gloves yesterday. I'm trying to find masks. I mean, I cannot with good heart bring people, 60, 70 people from out of town traveling into my small little town when we're already, we don't have any viruses yet, knock on wood, in this county. We're testing every day. But I need to be able to protect my community. Are there people in my community that probably don't give a shit about Clint and I? Yeah. But for the big picture, they know that we as a business and as Clint and Heidi Smith, we are worried about not only our students, but also about our community at large, and we need to be able to take care of them. So, we look to start in May. But this idea that we're just going to keep everything for ourselves and all this knowledge, I think it's just ignorant. And I think we may need to be on the receiving end of some kindness and what other people may be able to help us down the road. So hope that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think you're a pioneer, especially in the women's space, in terms of bringing people together. And it's always nice and welcoming to have, Clint has a great setup at Thunder Ranch in the sense that you guys have the ability to, have women on it, and you're there to make them feel comfortable, and you're there to ease the transition and educate and offer some insight. And, that's rare. And you don't see that often, and that's what makes it a little bit of a safe haven in so many ways for women to come up and train and participate in training. And, I imagine you go on the road with him quite a bit and get the opportunity to get and meet some of these gals and hear some of their stories. And most of the times the reason they got in was a panic buy or a
exactly.
trigger, a reaction.
Yeah. And all the years my mom and I did Personal Safety Institute, we had one woman, bless her, she came, and we had about 30 different guns that we would let them shoot. Anybody that's listening to this, you want to get into the firearms industry and teaching, you got to start with women. That's the best thing to do. Because truly they spread that stuff like wildfire. And we'd let them shoot everything from a Ruger Mark 22 up to a 308, because we tried to get guns that would represent guns that were probably already in the home, like the husband or the dad or someone had. So we wanted them to be able to pick the gun up, know how to check it for safe, unload it, reload it, shoot it if they had to. Then when they went to the gun store, they weren't sold something that was, hey, put this in your purse and you're good to go. The size of a peanut. Get their hands on a gun. Then they had some knowledge. Like, what the hell does 250 grain FMG mean? What does that mean? Give them some knowledge so that when they go to find a gun that fits them, that they're comfortable with, and that they want to practice with, that we would give them all that stuff on board. We had one woman. She made it all the way through class. And when my mom started the lecture, the woman started to cry. And, we'd had tears off and on, but this woman had to leave. And so I went and talked to her, and her best friend from high school had really bad postpartum and shot her 2-month-old baby and then jumped off the hospital roof. I mean, some really horrific stuff. So she'd put all of her anxiety, all of her fear, all of her anger on that weapon system. That was it. But she made it through. And, she says, I'll probably never have one, but she said, I can close that door in my life. And the stories that we had like that over the years, everything from Clint really wasn't into the ladies' classes when I got married to him. He was like, there's no difference between a woman getting her guts kicked out and a man. And I get that. But I told Clint, to get them in the door, that all female format is key, because there's safety in numbers. Maybe they can ask questions that they couldn't ask in a co-ed class. So when we had our first one, we had a guy who's a pediatrician, or he's an OB, and he had come 2 or 3 times every year with his cousin. And finally we had the ladies class. He's like, my wife finally agreed to come. So she came, and she was this beautiful redhead, green-eyed ER nurse, the type. And the first 2 days she wouldn't speak. She was just, you could not read her. And I was like, great, I finally get Clint to agree. I want to have him see how powerful these ladies' classes are and getting the women in the door. And I was like, oh, man, Miss Wanda's going to ruin this for me. You know what I'm saying? So it was the last day I was doing diplomas, and she came in at lunch. She came up to my desk, and she said, stand up. And I went, oh, my God, she's going to hurt me, And I stood up, and you know what, John? She hugged me and sobbed, just sobbed. And Clint was in his office, and he came out, and I kind of looked at him, and she stepped back. She goes, for years, I thought he just wanted to come here because he wanted to be away from me. But you know what? This is fun. That was it. This idea that it's all about SWAT, that it's all about a man thing, that this was fun. And, the following year, we took her on her first ever hunt. We took her bison hunting. She came back the following year for urban rifle all by herself. She left back home with the twins. I mean, so this idea over the years, that what we've seen is that when a woman gets in a shooting, especially a mom, it truly affects the entire household. And if anything, we'd have guys say later on, well, yeah, she came home and she made me only clean my guns in the area and had to put 4 firearm safety rules. I mean, guys had to kind of clean up their act once the women had some knowledge on board. But having women come in, make these homes safer, it's about, it can be a fun thing. I'm not really into, I think it's great. Another thing in the industry is, women can have different colors for their guns, pink, this. For me, my guns are basically a tool, and because I'm on the sheriff's department, if I use my Gap rifle for the sheriff's department or I use my Glock, I don't really want to take something that's pink or purple to a jury, if that makes sense. So because what I have are, for me, they're tools. But this idea that women can come into the fold and do this and have fun with it. And fun things are great, and they can take that to the next level and be very competent shooters and very competent guardians of the house, as I would put them. So, yeah, getting women in the door here are amazing, and it's life transforming, and we are just as blessed as they are coming in what they do to our lives.
Now, I have to ask,
yes.
How did the rants come to be with Clint, and were they always there, and what was the genesis of capturing them?
Of the women?
No, the rants on his part when he gets going and you guys capture those.
Oh, rants. Yes, I said rants.
Rants.
It's funny because I heard you asking this, where did that stuff come from? And literally, I don't know. It's funny because we'll go through lecture. I've got probably 100 hours worth of just raw Clint of his lecture that I've just captured. It's very hard because none of that stuff is edited except for some of the real, like the DVDs and stuff we put out. But all that stuff, when we turn a camera on or we turn the phone on at the range, you're just catching in midstream.
Oh yeah.
And I maybe have catch 2% of these rants that come out because I can't get to my damn camera quick enough or get the phone on. And literally his brain just works in a different dimension. And he'll say something during the day and we'll get home, we'll be laying in bed and go, where the hell did that? He goes, nope, just popped out. Literally, I always imagine that little hamster going around on the wheel. His is like that, just never stops.
It's funny it's crazy because I brought this up with Jerry Mitchell. It's funny to see Clint and Jerry and see some of these guys crush it on social media with their isms.
With some of their stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I got a great Jerry story really quick because you mentioned Jerry. So, Jerry, we went to his range a few years back, and a long time ago, but probably about 15 years ago, and we had Jerry in class, and he shot in 1911. So I had gone back. I was on the range. Actually, he was my partner. And the way Jerry talks. But anyway, I went back, and there was this old codger. He looked like 150 years old, came up, and he saw Jerry, and he says, is he shooting a semi-auto? And I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, that's a sin. I mean, the old people that were at the range could not believe he had a semi-auto in his hand. But Jerry, we always make fun of him, or we always kind of talk about the time we were partners, and we always teach people say cover and clear. And so if we're in one of those moods, we imitate Jerry because he's like, Heidi, cover me, clear. I mean, the guy on the line kept us in stitches. And like you said, I don't know where people like him and Clint come up with this stuff, but they are treasures, and their brains are, because you asked me, I simply don't know. It's one of the mysteries of life and the mysteries of my marriage, because he will say stuff that's so funny that I go, I've never heard that. He goes, nope, I've never thought it. So I have no idea.
Some of them are epic. You have to, you got to go back through. One thing I noticed with your social media is you got to recycle some of them, because there's the new followers that haven't seen them. You have to do like a greatest hits.
The greatest hits. And I want to do, one of my goals is to do a coffee table book.
Oh.
And so, but when you open it, it's like one of those kids' books. So there's a picture of Clint, and it's got the quote written down, but it's also audio, so you can hear it as well in his voice.
If you did I'd be the first to buy it. I'd be the first to buy it.
I want to do one of those, and I want to do have him do like on iTunes reading children's novels or something really funny. So people ask, bring this up about Clint's voice, because people all the time, oh my God, he's got to quit smoking. Oh my God. When you yell for a living for 50 years and you've had probably 18 surgeries in the last 10, your vocal cords take a hit. So all of you listening, that's the way he speaks. He doesn't smoke. That's just what it is from yelling in all the surgeries. So
Yeah, it's like it's like the hearing thing. Just over time on the range, just the hearing is shot.
Yeah.
Like I tell guys all the time, and it's not smart. And I was the first to say to Clint, like there are times I've been on the range, and guys are just shooting 9, and it's not smart. For the record, I've barely worn hearing protection. I'll walk out there and people and I'm like, I just I'm like, I don't want to flinch. I just kind of lose the flinch, and it just kind of get used to the popping. Now is 9 the worst? No, but you start putting rifle rounds downrange, it's going to crush your hearing. It just crushes it, and there's no.
For him, sometimes wearing the muffs all day and glasses, for so long, and he's got a complete C-spine. He's got, 2 14-inch rods, screws, plates. He broke his titanium rods last year. I mean, the guy's like crazy, but because of all that nerve damage and stuff in his neck that goes up into his scalp, sometimes wearing glasses really gives him an instant headache, and we're still working on trying to get something that works. So once in a while he takes them off and people just crap themselves when they see it. But hey, it's Clint, but yeah, 50 years of doing it. You just get used to pulling them off and on.
Yeah. Teaching is a calling, and I've said that 100 times. It really is. And people don't understand that, to teach or to be a teacher, you really have to be called to it. Did you have to grow into the calling, or was it always there for you too?
For me, I was hooked when my mom was into it, but my mom is a teacher at heart. And when I helped her with the first class, when we decided to do the ladies thing, and I saw I saw how it changed people. When you get women or get any student, no matter what you're teaching them, to enjoy it and to think for themselves and to problem solve for themselves, that is addicting. And I tell people who want to get into this industry, I want to write a book that says Gun Schools for Dummies. And if you want to know everything from insurance, to write up a waiver, where to buy targets, action targets, they're awesome. I know they're one of your sponsors.
Yeah, they're amazing.
But from start to finish, you want to do this. But the biggest thing, like you and Clint talked about, the difference between an instructor and a teacher, is if you can't think of anything else in your life that you want to do that gives you that much joy, if that's your calling, then that's what you should do. And that is addicting, to get people excited about something. And again, whether it's rock climbing or whether it's, learning how to shoot a gun, but there is a difference. And for me, it was very clear on that first class that you could change lives. And, people ask us all the time, where do you and Clint get your passion? What do you get your passion from? And, where we get our passion is from our students. They're the ones that keep us going. Seeing what we do. There are times we get up in the morning and yes, we are tired. Do we want to go onto the range where it's snowing and it's, 25 degrees? No, but we go because our students are the ones that help us get out of bed, meaning just they drive us to keep going. And that's why we love it, is they give back as much as we give to them.
Where does Clint go? Where can you get him to unwind? Is there I can't picture him in the islands or something.
I was really lucky because I started going to Cabo when there was...
Oh, beautiful. Cabo.
Oh, yeah. I was going to Cabo when there was nothing there. There was the flea market down by the water. There were 2 hotels. There was a trailer park restaurant. I went there way before there was anything there. But I took Clint there for our honeymoon, and we went there for 10 days, and he loved it. He went actually 2 more times. But to get Clint to go anywhere... Like he told me, he says, last time I left the country, people shot at me. I got shot. So I really don't care to leave. That's he doesn't want to go anywhere where he's not armed. And I get that. And there's really cool places, of course, in America that you can go. When you work where you live, you have to get really, really good at going on vacation at home. And for many of you listening to this, you're stuck at home with your kids. And I know that's probably not possible mentally. That's a real chore to what you're doing, just trying to survive. But for Clint and I, our property is pretty cool. We have a covered bridge. When we shut that thing and we're here on the property alone, for him, unwinding is we love shooting, especially long distance shooting. It's one of the funnest things we do together. But we love movies. So our biggest unwind time is in front of the TV with a bowl of popcorn, with Jack Russell's on our lap, and a good movie. And, that to us is heaven. And people say, well, that's not very exotic. You don't need to be exotic when you're happy. You just need to know where to put your feet up and focus on something other than work. And we've gotten pretty good at that over the years. We're big on reading. So to get him to really unwind is basically anywhere with his dogs, on the couch with me with some popcorn and reading. So those are the few areas that I get him to unwind.
Well, when you're at home doing that and he's able to decompress, is it Lifetime movies or what are you getting him to tune into?
No, we actually are. We actually like everything. Everything from the Wild Bunch to the Professional, some of the older great classics. So we watched the new Bad Boys the other night. Wasn't bad. Gun scene. And,
I want to watch that. Yeah.
Actually, the gun stuff in the very end was really good. We love the Wick movies. The second or the third one with the dogs was the best part. So we really like movies, and we usually try to go for the 2 and 3 star ones because sometimes those people that don't like them, that we end up liking those. He's really big into some of the Korean production movies, the big epic samurai types of movies. He loves those. And I don't know, we just like a wide variety of kind of everything. We're big into the Despicable Me. We love cartoons. But we're kind of eclectic and like a little bit of everything.
It's coming back to Mexico. I'll never go back to Mexico after having Ed's Manifesto on, after having Ed Calderon on the show. I was blown away. The stuff he was telling me about Mexico. We went for an hour and 20 minutes, and originally Ed was going to go 45, and it was after I needed a minute. I was traumatized, and he sent me some pictures and some clips and some stuff, and that guy blew my mind about what's going on down there. I was like, I'm never going back.
No, it's very scary. And the thing is, it's been going on so long, and it's just getting worse. And I think the last time we were down there would have been 2000, and so a long time ago. But we have known so many people in, let's say, that work down there, and that we've, seen the videos, stuff that they've sent us, pictures, stuff that before there was, live leaks and that kind of stuff, where we just, I know we're not going back. And the key is with social media, of course, is now that's the one thing good is you can kind of see what's going on down there. And I would avoid it, whether it's a virus or whether, getting shot and have your kids burn alive in your car. People can badmouth America, but I tell you what, this is a pretty amazing place. And doesn't mean there's some bad stuff going on, but we got it pretty good here. And I would encourage people to avoid those places. So, and you agree.
Amen. And what advice do you give people during this, pandemic and during this outbreak? Clint had some good advice. And, as a woman out there, how do you gauge this for your household, and what is kind of your measured approach? What would you tell everybody, knowing what you know now and having the medical training and everything else woven into it, the personal defense training? What advice do you give people?
Well, I think the one thing to remember about, and I'm by no way an expert, and just because I started following it in December doesn't make me an expert.
Yeah, who is?
But I think you have to look at the source of where this came from. Let's be honest. We're dealing with where the outbreak happened in China. Okay, I mean, there's atrocities that happen in many countries, but people that they're not going to be honest with you. We're dealing on a daily basis with more knowledge. And when something like this, which I mark my words, there's hundreds of thousands of people that died over there from this. And I think we're getting got this delayed responses that escape, that you can't really make good decisions based on, you don't know where the epicenter or what really happened. So every day things are changing. You look at a month ago when the Surgeon General said, hey, you don't need masks yet. We need them for our medical people. And then I read something this morning, I think America lost over 1,000 people last night. And I think Italy was 984 yesterday. I mean, and now they're coming out and saying, hey, you should be wearing that. Everything's changing daily. I think the best advice that I'm giving people is that take every precaution right now, especially while it's peaking. If you have a mask, if you have to go to town, well, then by God, wear it. Yes, wash your hands, but, anything that's not going to cost you anything, wash your hands one more time. Try to avoid town. do everything that you can to keep that virus from coming into your house. And, like I said, in the next 2 weeks, places like here in Lakeview, we're supposed to be peaking on the 12th of April, one of the reasons we reschedule classes. But a lot of these communities are going to be peaking. The more you can stay home, the more you can just hunker down and survive inside your house, staying clean, eating properly. I'm not saying ration and give everybody a cracker and, kind of spread your food out a little bit as we go into the next 2 weeks, and try not to let panic buying take over if you go to the store. If you have a lot of supplies, I mentioned this on our newsletter last week, if you're like us and you've really prepped and you're way ahead of the ball game and you go to the store and there's some little old lady, and this happened to me 2 weeks ago, barely enough money to get her cat food and get her little supplies, don't take all the food off the damn shelf in front of her. Keep your senior citizens and your fixed income people in your communities healthy and fed. Don't be greedy. So think a little bit outside your bubble, but really try to spread things out. Stay clean, stay inside if you can. If you have masks and gloves, wear them. If you have to venture out. And I think we're going to get through to the other side of this. Is it going to be painful yes. Are people going to die? Yes, it's just going to happen. Look at the normal flu, people die. This one's just scary because we just really don't have clear details from the epicenter or where it started. So do what you can. If anybody tries to take what's yours by force, by God, fight back. And that's kind of what I'm telling people.
Is toilet paper the answer?
Oh my God, yeah. Well, it's sure nice to have it. Clint and I have been lucky with, that's one Clint's always, for years, when you go get more toilet paper. Yes, it's nice to have. And, if this was a virus where we were all, excuse my French, shitting ourselves to death, well, then, yes, it would be very, very important. But, yeah, I don't think it's all answers, but it is nice to have. So if you have it, great, but use it sparingly if you can.
Would you put something else on the list other than toilet paper? It's crazy. I look at some of these videos and some of these people and what they're buying, and I'm like, just sit at home, start a puzzle, get a new hobby, do something productive. Yeah, do something productive.
It's tough. The biggest and the best, as I tell people, the best part about this is all of you listening, and I know there's some of you that you've heard people like John, you've heard people like Clint and Heidi say this for years, have minimum 2 to 3 weeks worth of supplies, food, toilet paper, backup, all those things. And many of you have never done it till now. Now the key is once this passes, is hang on to that stuff. Whether it's an earthquake, whether it's all these types of things that can happen. And the virus, we will have another virus, but hang on to that stuff. Keep it in a safe place so that you have it for next time and you don't have to expose yourself. During one of these things, the best thing you can do is stay at home. And like John says, get a puzzle, get a new book, do something. But once you leave your house, you are exposing yourself not only to becoming a victim of crime, put it out there, but you're also giving yourself another chance to expose yourself and to any family member to the virus. So the more you can do to hunker down and survive, and I know there's a lot of you listening to, you don't know my kids, we're stuck at home with them, they're driving us nuts, then I suggest do everything you can to keep the peace. Everything, because you need to get along while you're home. Get a DVD player. If the internet goes down, a lot of you are going to be in a lot of trouble. I'm just a big fan, Heidi, of schedules. So like I get up and I still work till 2 or 3 o'clock like I would every day. Yep. And I tell people, stay on a schedule and you should have time away from your partner or your kids or whoever, have your alone time. And if you're in close quarters, and I understand everybody doesn't have 15 rooms in their house, if you have a backyard or you have a controlled area, obviously take sanitation into account, but have the ability to have some downtime away from each other. So when you come together at the natural time in the day that you would anyway, that's going to cause less angst. That's going to cause less, you used to walk the dog for 10 minutes, walk the dog for 20, and slow down. Everything doesn't have to, I know this because you're on the Pacific Northwest in anybody, I say west of the Mississippi knows how to slow down a little, slow the F down, and
take a minute. And coming from me, I'm an East Coaster. I'm a Boston guy. I go a million miles an hour starting at 5 a.m. And nobody catches me sleeping. I've had even, Donnie, if certain people say to me, they're like, do you sleep? You know, because I'm like 3 hours on the pillow and I'm good to go. But I try to tell people all the time, take a minute. Now's a good time to re-examine your business plan. Now's a good time to go over a lot of the things that you've wanted to go over for a while. Because when we're going a million miles an hour, the first thing everybody says is, if I only had a minute. Well, now you have a minute.
If you only finish the project that you started.
Yeah, I mean,
that you've always wanted time to finish in the house if you can. And, you know, this can be a life-changing time for you. Like, I always laugh because Clint never napped. He was a lot like you when we got married. Now he naps, which is great. You know, a year after being married, I said, you know what? You go 100 miles an hour, just a 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
You know, learn how to just pace yourself and to do things at a different speed. And you're right. It's all between your ears. And we can all get through this, but the mental part is hard. I've talked to several moms and several dads who have just they're really struggling with the whole trying to manage teenagers who aren't really a lot of fun to be around. And those of you listening know what I'm talking about. Whether you have behavioral issues at home, well, this is the time, one, to survive this and get through it, do what you have to do, but also try to reconnect with those kids. Being closed together in a house can either make you or break you. So let it make you. Let it benefit the family. And that's easy for me to say. I just have Clint and 2 Jack Russells. But take the time to maybe reevaluate and change the pace, whether it's just between your ears or what you're doing through the day. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's keeping that schedule. Clint and I get up at the same time. You know, even though we reschedule classes to later in the year, we've got stuff that we've wanted to get done. And so we're working on projects, like I told you, fixing a leak in the chimney. You know, I've got the plumber down below at the pro shop because we have a leak. So getting things fixed and kind of working on your own nest, those projects that you've always wanted to finish. That's what we're doing.
Well, it's so true. I mean, I could sit here, you know, all day and chat about this, but it's really simple in my opinion. You know, if you've wanted to start that small business or whatever it is that you've wanted to do, now's the time. Now's the time. Simple. And there's people like you that you can help them, you know, asking for help. There's people that are out there that can help you. Hey, I had this idea. Well, then run with it. Start writing stuff down. That's how we start something here, whether it's a new class or, hey, write it all down. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? This is a great time to do it. And if you're in our business, it's great because now's the time to write some of those extra blogs you've wanted to and things like that. And you can get lost in it and spend a few hours. Absolutely. So
Clint's been working on a new book, his pistol book. So we did the rifle. So I've been encouraging him to. So he's working on that. So we're excited about that.
Well, there's many great women in this business, but you're one of them for sure. And I appreciate
you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time. I mean, we could go, as I always say, all day. And I'd love to do in the future when you guys make it to Vegas. I'd love to do you and Clint in studio at some point.
Oh, we'd love that.
That'd be amazing, for sure.
We'll plan on it. We'll be in Vegas for about a month, starting right after SHOT into the end of February. So we're going to be in your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be good.
Beautiful. Well,
Count
on it.
Thank you to you and everybody. Appreciate you and what you're doing.
No, I appreciate you. And there you go. I mean, look, Heidi, let everybody know again where to find Thunder Ranch and how to look you guys up and what you got going on.
Yep, absolutely. And you guys can find us on the web. We're on the social media on Instagram and Facebook and www.thunderranchinc.com. And for those of you ladies listening, Clint and I answer as many emails as we can. Usually, if you've got a question, email us, please. And I will personally get back to you. So, because I got a lot of time. So send it and get a hold of us if you need anything.
And I'll put the links down below for everybody looking to track you guys down. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone. And I want to take a minute and thank Volquartz and Firearms, and head over to www.johnbartoloshow.com and check out some of the sponsors. Some of them, you know, Heidi, Clint, and I share. So she brought up Action Target, such a great brand. There's so many great brands there, and you know, especially I want to give a special thanks to Henry. I got a beautiful 4570 from them. Henry Firearms. Go check out Henry and Lever Action. One of my passions. I actually love lever action firearms. So I appreciate everybody, and I appreciate everyone taking the time, and I can't thank Heidi enough. And thank Clint for me. Keep him off the roof.
I will.
Keep him off the roof.
Hi. He's right in front of me. Say hi to John. Say hello.
What's up, boss?
We're about to head up. We're headed up to the roof, so I'll keep my eye on.
Keep your eye on him. We can't lose him. All right, I appreciate it. We're out.
Okay, thanks, brother.